LALATE, this is JOVITALATE. The Shuttered Venue Grant went live today, and it's very confusing. You have to have a QR code or QR code. You know that's that thing when you go to the restaurant and they don't want to give you a menu, you just sort of scan a code. So I tried it. Because I'm not, JOVITALATE of SBA anymore. I'm JOVITALATE on the outside, and I tried that QR code. And every time I try to scan it, because that's the way you apply for the Shuttered Venue Grant. Guess what I got? I got a discount to the casino. Who is the casino? LALATE. Is that thing with SIRLOIN? I mean, why would SBA have a QR code that sends me to some cows? At least send me, to the Nordstrom rack on some scarf sale. What was that? I tried that QR code all day long. And, I would have liked a nice Mai Tai, a nice Mitch Mai Tai, or some $12 ice cream. But what was that thing, that QR code? It's too confusing. It's a moving goalpost. It's even confusing for JOVITALATE. I mean, even if I wore my scarf backwards, I would still not understand it. But I do love it. Anything that's confusing is absolutely wonderful for SBA. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. It's evening's LALATE's late night show. It's LA Late Night. You having a beautiful evening? I hope you are. It's a big night across the board with so many exciting details across what's happening today. And I'm so excited you've joined me. Also joining me tonight is your illustrious man of cow of the hour, the guy who gets stimulus before the rest of us, the person who got the second stimulus for the cows before everyone else, the wonderful and the only person you attune to get the latest update on everything from $12 ice cream to fashion tips. SIRLOIN. How are you, SIRLOIN? Thank you for joining me for a big night. Oh, Adelaide, I'm so excited to be here. I'm just very excited to be here, with the exception of one thing. What's the one thing you're not excited to be here about? I watched that video. Which video? The one with that guy, Reese or DC or the Economic Council guy. Oh, yes, I'm going to be showing that video. Yes, who is this person, Adelaide? Yes, we're not to that yet, but I will be showing him. Here he is. Oh, my God. I haven't got to him yet, SIRLOIN. Oh, he makes me angry before I even start talking. We won't be cutting to him shortly. But how are you, SIRLOIN? Did you have a beautiful weekend? I did, Ellen. I did. And I tried to enjoy all my gains before the tax. You tried to enjoy all your gains before your tax. But so you have seen the video before the viewers have seen the video that I'm about to show. I have. And what's your initial initial opinion about the video? He has no idea what he's talking about. So cows get it better than he does? Oh, absolutely. I know cows that have brain cells bigger than this person. It's just, during this video, Ellie, he says that the reason we're doing capital gains taxes, changing capital gains taxes, is because the people who make money on capital gains taxes just live on their wealth and don't work. Yeah, he does say that. It's just crazy, Adelaide. I mean, this is coming from a man who's never worked a day in his life. Yes, he hasn't worked a day in his life. He worked during the Obama administration and then the Biden administration and then the Clinton administration. He's just been a career politician, and he's the one that's passing judgment on who's actually worked in this economy. And to think that he thinks that someone sells a stock they've actually never worked. It takes work to get that stock, Adelaide. And, not everyone is Elon Musk in the world. So let's tune into this video. But first, what do you think? What do you think she was wearing? Muddle blue. I think she wore muddle blue and probably with bell-bottom pants. Anyway, we are. Oh, I almost got it right. She wore muddle blue, but with black. Well, where we are. And so she introduced this guy. Yes, she introduced this guy. So let's listen in, Adelaide. I don't know if I can contain myself. Do you have the beeper on? Do you have the beeper ready? What beeper? You know, the time delay in case I go into those expletives. Yes, I have that ready in case you do, Sirloin. Let's listen in. I don't know if I can contain myself. Let's listen in. Here she comes.
Okay. Our special guest today is our Director of the National Economic Council, Brian Deese, and he will be, as you may know, Brian was Senior Advisor to President Obama and previously served as Acting Director of the Office of Management and Budget. And in the Obama-Biden administration, Brian helped coordinate policy development for tax policy, housing, clean energy, manufacturing, and the automotive industry.
In other words, Adelaide, he's never worked a day in his life. Exactly. He's just a career politician. He's, as you may know him, he was the person in the administration before that, and then the administration after that, and then the administration. As you may know him, he's a career politician, and he's going to talk about how we make money. Who is this person? And then why can he not stand up straight? He cannot stand up straight. I mean, this is why he's a career politician. He's leaning on you. He's leaning on the American people. Who chooses a career politician to be head of the Economic Council of the American government? You choose Larry Kudlow, who get confused by the blink of a calculator. But at least they worked. Economic Council, you hire someone that actually knows what they're doing. And that's why you don't hire someone from Yale. That's why you don't hire someone from Yale. So let's listen into what else she has to say about his resume from administration after administration after administration.
Brian has agreed to come despite having the unenviable task of not being able to roll out many details of our joint session speech or the American Families Plan, but we still wanted to have him here to provide some context on some of the questions you all had raised.
Wait a second. That's very confusing. Did you hear that? I did hear that. We're only 2 minutes in this video, and we're already having problems with it. Yes, she said he's here to talk about the American Family Plan, the fifth stimulus, but he can't tell us what's in there. Well, why is he here? What is he here to talk about? How to make a nice enchilada? How to make a nice meatless taco? How to air tag you? I'm here for you to tell me, sir, what is this capital gains tax? Why are you here? And tell me what is in the capital gains tax. I'm afraid to hear what's going to happen next. Let's listen to more.
And he'll only be able to take a couple questions, but with that, I'll turn it over to Brian.
Thank you, Jen, and it's good to see you all again. So I wanted to just provide a little bit of context around, in particular, capital gains taxes, and we'll provide just a little bit of context, and I'm happy to take a couple of questions. So, as you know, and as Jen has spoken about, the president is excited to this week lay out his plan to invest in American families. It will be a plan that will provide critical support for children and families, and by doing so, critical support for our economy. By boosting labor force participation and future economic competitiveness, making among the most.
Wait, Adelaide, what does that mean? We're going to invest in the American family to make us economically competitive. What does that mean? I don't know. We're going to invest in the American family to make them economically competitive. What does that mean? That we can win on cupcake wars? I don't know what that means. They're a family. They're not a workforce. They're a family. They're home and they're cooking and they're playing Nintendo games. What do you mean they're going to be economically competitive as a family? You either are working or not working. And then you talked about children. Children are economically competitive? I don't understand what's going on here. We're just starting here and this is very confusing. It is sort of confusing. It's just a lot of superlatives. It's a lot of vagueness. But let's hope it improves. Let's listen and we'll see what next he has to say about this.
Cost-effective measures to boost our long-term economic strength that we know of. And the president will also outline ways to offset the long-term costs of those investments by making reforms to our tax code that reward work and not just wealth.
Oh, hold up right there, Adelaide. That was the part that made me very upset. Very upset. rewards wealth but not work. How dare him? You sound very upset, Sirloin. I am upset. What do you mean reward wealth but not work? Let's make this clear, LALATE. If you're selling something from capital gains, it just didn't appear. If you're selling something and making capital gains on it, it didn't just appear. You had to work to get it. And when you sell it, you're making a profit on it. He acts like you just were given something as a gift. This is not gifts. Let's make this clear. Sirloin, calm it down. This is a family program. I'm just really upset. My ears are shaking. I'm so upset as a cow. I don't think I've ever been this upset on this channel. I don't think you have been this upset on this channel. Let's make this very clear, Ali. If you have capital gains because you're selling a house and you're making capital gains taxes, you get capital gains on the house. How do you think you got the house? It just appeared? Do you think you opened up a parcheesi and it just appeared? No. You hit the pinata and the house just appeared? No, it didn't just appear. He says, we're rewarding work, not wealth. How do you think you got the thing you're making the profit on for capital gains? You were just given it? That's inheritance tax, LALATE, and that's the fourth stimulus package. That is true. He's reverting inherited wealth. Well, that's inheritance tax, not capital gains. I don't know what he's talking about. Capital gains tax is not rewarding wealth. It's rewarding work. If you have a stock, you had to have money to buy the stock. And how did you have money to buy the stock? Because you worked. You have a house. How'd you get the house? Because you bought it. How'd you get the house? Because you worked to get money to buy the house. I don't know what he's talking about. And that capital gains is only for wealthy people and not for working people. I'd like to poll 20 people who have capital gains taxes of $10 and ask them, did you ever work in your life? I bet they did. Unlike this guy. Yes, unlike this guy. How many times has this guy worked in his life, LA? Well, he worked during the Obama administration. That's not work. He's a lifetime politician. Yes, so don't get too pissed off. It's just the early part of the video. This man's never worked a day in his life. And he's talking about rewarding lazy people? He's leaning on the podium.
One element of
this
this reform will be to change how we tax capital gains. And as you all know, that's income from selling stocks and other assets for taxpayers that make more than $1 million per year in income. So I want to start by reinforcing who this change will actually affect. This change will affect taxpayers making more than $1 million a year. In 2018, 0.3% of tax filers made more than $1 million a year. So I want to start by underscoring this in simple terms. This change will only apply to 0.3% of taxpayers, which is not the top 1%. It's not even the top 0.5%. We're talking about 0.3%. That's about 500,000 households in the country that we're talking about.
And according to him, those are the lazy ones. Yes, those are the lazy ones. Those are the lazy ones that just happen to have the assets. They just happen to have things sitting around and they're selling them and making capital gains. They've never worked a day in their life. Yes, they're the very lazy people that have capital gains tax. He just thinks they're so lazy. Yes, they are lazy. And what's very funny is that his research is lazy. Yes, it's why is his research lazy? Because a major #1 financial news channel today, broadcast channel, found his data to be completely inaccurate. Oh, what did it say? It said that 25% of all owners of stocks would be hit by his tax proposal. And guess what? His research is lazy. His research is lazy. Sirloin, you are really going in tonight. I am. I'm just not happy with this person. I'm afraid to listen to any more. And he's not even wearing teal. Imagine if he was wearing teal, how upset I would be. Let's listen into what else he has
for
to
the
say.
other 997 out of 1,000 households in the country, or the other 150 million households in the country, this is not a change that will be relevant. It won't change the tax treatment of capital gains at all. And this makes sense because for the typical Americans, most of their income comes from wages. So for people making less...
What does he mean? What do you mean for the typical American? Most of their wages come from income. Yes, if you're a career politician, it does. It's so lie. Typical American, all their income comes from wages? Yes, if you worked in the Obama administration and the Clinton administration and the Biden administration, yes, all your income does come from wages, the American public's wages. Who is this guy? Where do we get this guy, Ellie? I don't know. I didn't get him. I didn't hire him. Who is this guy? Everyone's wages come from W-2? Who is he? Does he have never met an electrician? No, he doesn't have electricians. He works in the White House. Does he not know a gardener or a manicurist? Well, I didn't see his fingernails. Has he never met a hairdresser? Well, his hairstyle's not. His hairstyle's not so. There's a lot of 1099s, a lot of sole practitioners, independent contractors, gig workers. Has he never taken a Lyft drive? Never taken a Lyft or Uber? No, he works at the White House. He has a personal car service. Of course, SIRLOIN. He doesn't need Uber or Lyft. He does not know the context of the American people. He goes from one building to another building. That's all he ever does. And then from one administration to another. He does not know Uber or Lyft or mowing a lawn because he doesn't do it. Who is this man? Larry Kudlow, can we bring back Larry Kudlow and just buy him another better calculator? It would be so much better. Yes, of all those moments where Larry Kudlow just didn't know his facts, suddenly this guy looks like Nirvana suddenly. Let's listen. We're only like in 1 minute of this video of this guy, and it's a hot mess. Let's continue to listen if we can. Let's see what else he has to say.
Less than $1 million a year, about 70% of their income comes from wages. But for those making more than $1 million, for the top 0.3%, it's the opposite. About 30% of their wages come from wages.
Wait. Yes, I did hear that. The top 30%, their wages come from their wages. He can't even talk right. He can't even read the script right. And listen, nothing makes sense of it. And then he says that the top 2% of the rich people, their wages. Guess what? If they're rich, they don't have wages. That's true. They probably own their own business if they're rich. They're CEOs, or they've worked their hands to a pulp in their restaurant to own their restaurant, or they took out garbage in the nighttime and they chopped the vegetables when the worker didn't show up. They sweat their blood and guts to run their business. They don't have wages. They're sole practitioners. They get up in the morning to drive their Uber or Lyft. They don't have wages. What is with this guy? It's like you're just really going in tonight. I've seen turnips that have more news, that have more insight as to what's going on. Let's listen in. I'm afraid to.
And that's probably actually
more.
an understatement, since the wealthiest can often strategically avoid reporting this type of income entirely. And so as a result, this is the provision that, since 2000, if you look at the 1,400 tax filers, those are people making over $60 million a year. That's the, for those of you keeping track, that's the top 1,000th of 1%. They have only paid about 20% of their reported income in taxes. So their tax rate, which probably is overstated, again, because this is the category that often doesn't report or underreports income. Their tax rate is lower than many middle-class families' tax rate. This is the dynamic that led Warren Buffett to famously explain that he paid a lower tax rate than his secretary, and it is the.
I bet Warren Buffett loves being brought up in this. I'm sure he does not like being brought up in this press conference. And you know what's very strange is that Elizabeth Warren wanted to tax those uber wealthy people. He's now going to the uber wealthy people. 600 million, a billion, trillion. And Biden didn't want to do wealth tax. He didn't want to do the super rich. He wanted to do, the couple $100,000 return people. And now he sort of wants to hit everything. He wants to hit everything because he wants to get those 17-year-olds those nice tennis shoes. Yes, he does. Let's listen to what else
Dynamic
this guy
that has led the president and others to argue that we need to do something about equalizing the taxation of work and wealth in this country. And that's why the reforms that the president will lay out are focused on this top sliver of people and treating capital gains the same as wages for that top 0.3%. And we believe that it's not only fair, but it would also help to reduce the kinds of tax avoidance that significantly undermines trust and fairness in the tax code.
Boy, LALATE, this man is really going in. He is going in. Tax avoidance. They don't work. They avoid taxes. They're lazy. He's just really insulting that group of people. They are not going to invite him to a party. They're not inviting him to a party. He's calling them lazy. They avoid taxes. They just are a sliver. Yes, they are a sliver. Unless you like the compliment of being a sliver. I don't like being called a sliver. Are you a sliver? I'm not a 60 millionaire, LA. But I don't think anyone likes being called sliver or slivering around. Except unless that's what you do. He's really going into I agree with you, SIRLOIN. There seems to be sort of an angst with this guy. There is an angst. He really has it feels like a vendetta against people. The tone and the choice of words. I haven't seen anything so dramatic since Portia took on Nene. Yes. Let's listen in more. I don't know if this is going to turn into a Real Housewives reunion yet.
Itself. And importantly, the revenue from this provision would help invest directly in our kids and our families and our future economic competitiveness. And put us.
Okay, what does that mean, Ally? I don't know. There comes those expressions. He's going to invest in our kids and our future economic competitiveness. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that means. Our future economic competitiveness. I think it's just a lot of hot air. I think it's more hot air than the climate. I think it is more hot air than the climate. I think that the climate was such a failure last week that now we're talking about superlatives like economic competitiveness of our children. I'm sorry, when are we talking about children working? I don't know. It's just very confusing. And children getting $3,600 this year. How much more money these children need? I don't know. They need the sliver of the other guy's sliver. They need some of that $16 billion of that other guy because they need to be economically competitive. They're children. Yes, I don't know. Investing on our future economic competitiveness. I think Nancy Pelosi could not have made up more vague expressions than this guy. Yes, he's sort of. It's just where do they get these vague expressions? Yale. Yes, it's very Yale. Other Ivies would never talk in such vagueness as this. Let's listen to it.
Where we can drive greater economic growth. So we'll have more to say on this and how it fits into the overall plan. But I just wanted to underscore at the top that number one, we're talking about a tax change that would affect, again, the 0.3%, the top sliver of households.
Sliver.
And number
There's
two,
that sliver again.
The principle here is to equalize the treatment of ordinary income and capital gains. And that is a principle that's neither new nor particularly novel. In fact, the last president to enact a reform to equalize the treatment of ordinary income and capital gains was President Reagan, who did so while raising capital gains taxes as part of the 1986 tax reform. And of course, we will be raising to higher rates than in that reform. But a lot has changed in the economy since then. A lot has changed in the academic and empirical research in this space. But the principle is the same, which is that for the very highest income Americans, we should tax at the same rate ordinary income and capital gains. So with that, when I pause and
there are
take
questions.
questions.
Let's hear the questions, LA.
Thanks so much for doing this, Brian. Just to make sure I understand this, critics say that you tax capital gains at lower rates to incentivize investments that help the economy grow. is the administration's perspective that among these high earners, they have not been making the investments to help the economy and that the government programs can do it better?
Ooh, Elliot, that's a good question. That's a good question. He's basically saying, are you not wanting people to buy and sell things? Are you not wanting to engage in commerce? Because if you buy and sell a house, that's commerce. That's the housing market. You buy and sell a car. That's the auto industry. You buy and sell antiques. That is other stuff. Do you not want to incentivize that? Ooh. Sirloin, have you bought and sold a car? I have not. But I find this fascinating. More fascinating than what that guy before had to say. Let's listen to hear the response, Sirloin.
So, across a wide body of academic and empirical evidence, there is no evidence of a significant impact of capital gains rates on the level of long-term investment in the economy. If you look back over the last 30 or 40 years, we've had capital gains rates at various rates. We've seen different levels of investment and overall economic growth. You can't identify a meaningful correlation between the two. There's lots of reasons for that, including that if you look at where a lot of venture capital and early stage investment comes from, it actually comes from pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, entities that actually are not tax sensitive. Also because at the end of the day, a lot of things go into making an investment decision. But certainly our view and reading of the evidence is that there is not there's not a correlation that would significantly affect investment.
And again, LA, what's Sirloin? And again, guess what he did? What did he do, Sirloin? He went back to evidence from 40 years ago. Yes, he did do that. Why are we looking at empirical analytic evidence from 40 years ago? I don't know. Because there's nothing else to do. There is nothing else to do. Because he doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He literally is just trying to give money to something we don't know what it's for. We really don't know what it is for. Investing in the American future. The American future of who? I don't know. The American future. The future. Is that a rock group? The American future. It sounds like an American. It sounds like a rocker. The American future. We're investing in the American future. I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means either. He's putting me to sleep also. He is putting me to sleep too. Let's wrap it up with this
for
guy.
these highest income individuals, number one. And number two, we can use those resources to invest in areas that we know where there is convincing academic evidence, empirical evidence, that investments, for example, in early childhood and in our children return enormous dividends in terms of their own academic success, reduced costs in the healthcare system, productivity, and growth in the future.
Catherine? Brian, one question on the Families Plan itself. Why isn't the White House including a plan to reduce the price of prescription drugs in the plan?
The good news about a question like that is I get to tell you that since we haven't rolled out the Families Plan yet, and I'm not going to do it at the podium right now, I am not going to confirm whether or not that is in. I can say that the president has long focused on
There we go. Yeah, you saw the rest of the video, didn't you? So I did. And guess what he does? He doesn't answer the question. No. So he says the American Family Plan has some wonderful stuff in there and that capital gains will be increased, but he doesn't tell us what rate. And he doesn't tell us what the American Family Plan is. Doesn't tell us what the American Family Plan does. Doesn't tell us where the money goes. Doesn't tell us what the money's for. He just doesn't tell us anything. Doesn't tell us anything. But he tells us that we're going to take money from certain slivers. Doesn't want it, and he sort of slivers away from the answer. He does sort of sliver away from the answer. And I don't think I've seen a person. If he wore teal, I'd probably crash the set. He'd probably crash the set. If he came out in teal, I probably would have lost myself. I don't think there would have been any more humor left in this broadcast. I would have had to air tag you from the jail cell. You would have had to AirTag me from the jail cell. I don't think I've seen a person who is more misguided, doesn't know what he's talking about, and is literally, it's just, he makes Nancy Pelosi look like a saint. He does. He makes Nancy Pelosi look like Einstein. He does make Nancy Pelosi look like Einstein. He literally has no idea what he's talking about. He has no idea how people make money. He has no idea who's making money. He has no idea how they made the money. He has no idea how the asset occurred there, how the stock ever occurred, how the real estate ever occurred, what even the asset is. He doesn't know what the asset actually is. He just sort of refers to stocks. He doesn't understand what the asset is. He doesn't understand how the asset ever came to existence, how the person was able to purchase the asset. And he just assumes, oh, you just have an asset. I'm going to take the money that you're making a profit for the asset and give it to 2-year-olds. So that they can go buy tennis shoes. Yeah, the thing that the Biden administration doesn't make clear is that, the $3,600 for the child tax credit that comes in July, it's not to pay for child education. It's not to pay for child care or raising or benefits. It's literally, here's $3,600. The $3,600 of child care is literally just money. It doesn't say what the money's for. It's literally, hi, here's $3,600. So if the parent wants to spend the money on tennis shoes for the kids, or, a Nintendo game piece, or, wants to buy them video games, or wants to buy them a, something that's not a good resemblance of spending money in the household. I can't use an example, but something that doesn't make sense. There's no safeguard against it. It's just a check for them to have money. And yes, LA. And so the president wants to spend $24,000 of that over 7 years. It's different than saying, hi, you're going to give them free education, or free college, or free visits to universities. But that's not what's going on here. And if it's a public university, it should be free. It's called public. Yes, if the state governments own the universities, they give some money to the states. Oh wait, that's Nancy Pelosi's idea. Yes, it is Nancy Pelosi's idea. Well, Sirloin, this was a very different video tonight. It was. Sometimes humor comes with reality, and sometimes it comes with how would you call it? Delusionalness. It's delusionalness. I just hope I don't have to see this guy for 4 years. Yes, or not 4 years of videos from him. Yes, or 4 more years of videos from him. Somehow I think someone is making a commercial out of him. Who do you think that is? Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell. Yes, I just think they are. He's not a very good indication of how to prepare economic rebounding. And I don't know where we're going with this, but the American Family Plan comes in September, and are you anxious for it, Sirloin? Oh, I will pass judgment on that. Until then, I'm just having a lot of ice cream. Thank you, Sirloin. And thank you for joining me on Evenings LA. You'll see more of the footage of this press briefing on tomorrow on LA. Join me tomorrow morning for Early Mornings LA. But first, if you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also, like this video. And if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Stay informed, stay focused, keep on staying motivated, make sure you keep it positive and keep it informed. Understand what things are. Don't have people tell you what something is and just assume it's accurate. Remember, politicians are often politicians for a reason. And sometimes their career as politician is also for a reason, whereas other people actually work. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on Mornings LA.